Hi everybody! Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Just coming up with a new YouTube video here, and we are going to be making this lovely little unicorn rainbow card today. How cute is this? So here's a list of everything that you're going to need. Again, I'm calling it the unicorn rainbow card, and it is a standard A2 card, which is 4.25 by 5.5. That's the finished size. Today we are using the Rainbow Repeat stencil. So it's by Tailored Expressions, and it's called Rainbow Repeat, and this is what the stencil looks like. So it's a bunch of rainbows. We are also using by Tailored Expressions the little critter stamps. So little critters, cutest little sentiments on here. So they are all red rubber as well. So the other thing, the inks that I'm going to be using, we're actually going to go with Distress Oxides today. You can do whatever inks you want. I just thought, you know what, I haven't done Distress Oxides in a really long time, so we're going to play with these colors, and we are doing absolute rainbow colors. Candied Apple, Carve Pumpkin, Mustard Seed, Mowed Lawn, Peacock Feathers, and Wilted Violet. So those are our Distressed Oxide colors. I'm going to put those off to the side for now. We are also going to be using the Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink, or any type of alcohol marker friendly, because we are going to be coloring in our little unicorn here. You need to make sure, as long as you're using Copics, you need to make sure you're using alcohol friendly, marker friendly ink. Okay, Pixie Spray. I would definitely recommend Pixie Spray because this stencil here is very flimsy. It's going to be moving around a lot. So Pixie Spray is a light tack. It's a repositionable adhesive for stencils. Highly recommend Pixie Spray for today. We're going to be doing a little bit of embossing. So I'm actually, since we're just going to emboss the sentiment on here, so you need to make sure that you have some white embossing powder, unless you're going to do a different color. I'm using the stuff from Wow, the opaque bright white, the super fine. You're also going to want your anti-static tool, which I have mine in a little bag, my little bag in here. Put that off to the side for a second. Any sort of blending brushes, or if you're using foams or whatever you're using, I'm using the Tailored Expressions blending brushes. Foam squares if you want to make your little guy in your sentiment stand up here. Score tape or liquid glue. Because we're doing a lot of blending, you're going to want either the Vicki Boutin Foundations paper or Bristol paper. Those are my top two papers that I really like when you're going to be doing any blending. So the Bristol paper looks like this. It's a very smooth surface. It blends beautifully. Otherwise, you're going to be using, let's pull this out here, the Vicki Boutin, the White Foundations Mixed Media Art paper. So both of those are my top two papers that I like to do any of my blending and stuff on. Again, for the back of your card, I've already put mine in score tape, but it's really nice and strong. Your cards are going to last really, they're going to stand up really nice if you use the 110-pound Nina White cardstock for your card base. You're going to need any type of black paper, whatever, you got black paper. And these are the Copic markers, colors that I used. You can use whatever you want. So just to fill in the unicorn with a little bit of gray, I just went very, very light. So I have the N1 and the N0. And then I use BG49, R24, Y13, V17, and YR68. But again, you can use whatever you want. You got to make sure you have your Misty tool handy. And if you want to do, I always like to add a little bit of bling. I know Tailored Expressions has some beautiful bling out there, but I'm still using my Studio Katya stuff till I run out. So that's what I'm using on mine. So let's just get started. So first things first, what you're going to want to do is grab, I am actually using the Vicki Boutin today. So I've already cut it because it's a 12 by 12. I have already cut mine down to a 6 by 6. So I'm just reaching around and getting some of my stuff here. You can already cut it down to the size of your card if you want, but I just like to start with the 6 by 6, and then you can choose whatever you want to do. So now that I have my 6 by 6 Vicki Boutin, I'm going to take my Pixie Spray, and I'm actually just going to spray the back. I'm going to do it off camera because I don't want to spray it over everything, but you just need about that's it. Say 3 to 4 seconds, just to spray the back of it. So now you're gonna wait for about, I don't know, it says 30 seconds, but you don't really need to wait that long. And it gives it that nice little sticky background. So once that's all nice and sticky, you're gonna put this down on your paper. And now your stencil does not move off your paper. That is the nicest part about this Pixie Spray. So if you want, if you're using the Make Art Station, by all means, you can put your magnets and everything down now. So what you're gonna do now is we're just gonna start doing your inking. So you are going to be grabbing whatever, I'm doing mine in rainbow because I just thought it's fun. So again, I'm using the Distress Oxide. The first one I'm using is Candied Apple. Actually, I think I'm gonna remove my magnets because I wanna kind of do it sideways. I'll put it down this way. So you're just gonna grab your blending brushes and just start putting your ink down. And if I'm going very heavy on mine, but if you don't want it to be quite as vibrant as this, then just go a whole lot lighter. But I just wanted mine to be nice and bright. So, colored one, Candied Apple, done. Then we need to go into, my next one I decided to do was Carve Pumpkin. So you're just gonna go over the red that you've already done just a little bit because you want it to be, nice and blended. So you're gonna go start a whole new section here, but you are gonna blend up into the red that you've already done, or pinks or whatever colors you choose to do. Okay, so the next color is yellow. So we're doing Mustard Seed. I'm gonna put the orange back away. So now we're gonna go into the yellow, and now you're gonna do a whole new line, but you are gonna blend it up. Sorry, I'm sure this is probably shaking my table, and I'm trying not to, and I'm really apologizing, but it's really hard to blend and not shake things. So now you've got your yellow that's blended into the orange. Now, if for some reason you decide, oh, I blended way too much into the orange, you can go back. You're gonna grab your orange here, and you can just kind of go back over the yellow a little bit more if you think that you don't have enough orange in here. So feel free to play around just so that it blends really nice. So next is green. And I'm using Mowed Lawn. So I'm gonna put these ones away here. Pull out the green. So that's your next color down. And you're gonna blend that into the yellow. The oxides are very, very, very smooth too. That's why I kind of like the oxides. I don't use them all that often in my lives, but they're quite lovely. So I'm using more of a teal than an actual blue. So I'm using Peacock Feathers. Probably easier to switch this around now. Normally I'd say do not put your fingers on here, but you're not going to get your fingerprints in there. If you're worried about it, just grab like a random sheet of paper and let's just grab something out of here. If you're worried about getting fingerprints, just grab a random sheet of paper here and just hold it down with that, and then you don't have to worry about getting your fingerprints over top of anything. So now we're just going to go over with the Peacock Blue. And again, the more ink you put down, the heavier the color is going to be. So if you don't want it that heavy, then go a lot lighter. Okay, last color is Wilted Violet. So we're going to go with our purple now. This is my favorite part. When you get to the end here, and then you get to take the stencil off, and you get to see how cool this actually looks. Okay. So now the fun part. Now let's move this out of the way. I'll just get this out of the way as well. And now, the nice part about the Pixie Spray, so it sticks down, but it doesn't actually stick or rip your paper. So here is your beautiful stenciled background with your multicolored rainbows now. Okay, so now that we've got that, we have a couple different choices. I say we start putting together the card and then we're gonna get our little guy ready. So now, as you can see, I just did a little bit of a tiny little bit of a black background on here. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab whatever black paper you decided to use. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get this because I'm using my bigger cutter here, but you're gonna cut down your background to the size of your card. So that is 5.5. Don't get rid of this piece because you're going to need it in a minute. By 4.25. All right. Now you're going to take your card base and you're going to do what I did, or you can use liquid glue. However you put your backgrounds down. I like to use score tape because then I know it's not going anywhere. So I've already put the score tape down. Now I'm just going to take my handy dandy tweezers, pull this off, and you can put this all together at the end too. It really doesn't matter, whatever way you want to do. Now you're going to grab your piece that you have here, and you're just going to look over top of your head, make sure that it's down, and put it down, and you've got your background. So then what I would do is I'd take your piece that you already got here, and then we're just going to cut this guy down right away. So because I want that tiny little bit of an edge, I know that I want it's not going to be 4.5. So I'm going to cut off the end here. Oh, sorry, by 4.25. So what I'm going to do, because it's 5.5 by 4.25. So if you go to your quarter, I'm actually going to cut this just 1/8 of an inch down. So it's actually going to be 4 1/8. That's what size I want, because I don't want a big black background. I just want a tiny little bit. So now you're just going to take the same as your bottom, take your purple bit off. And now instead of the 5.5, we are going to go 1, 2, 3 eighths. So we're going to take that, just your little notch down. And then you're going to cut that part off here. Now you've left with this part of your background. I'm going to get rid of all this stuff off here. So now you're going to take, let's just remove all these pieces out of the way. Okay, so now you're going to do, again, whether or not you're using glue or whatever you're using, I like to use score tape. And it doesn't matter what size you use. I just have the giant stuff. So this is what I'm using. Sometimes I'll use the 5/8, sometimes I'll use 3/8. It all depends whatever's handy. Okay. Oops. Scissors went flying. Okay. So now you've got this down. So now you're just going to take your end pieces off here, your score end pieces. Now, once you have that done, now you are going to be putting that on the card base that you just finished. So just make sure you're opening it up so you know which way, because you don't want to put the rainbows on upside down. Right? So now you're just going to see, you can go over top, put your head kind of over top of it just so you see. And now you're going to put this down and you have this really nice black edge, if you can see that around there. Just a little bit of a hint of black on the back. So now you're going to put that aside. And what you're going to grab next is your MISTI. I'm going to move these things out of the way for now. Okay. So because these are red rubber stamps, you have to make sure if you're using the MISTI that you take your black foam piece out, because these are foam stamps. And if you have that in there, they're not going to work so well. So now what you want to do is you want to grab a piece of your, whatever paper you're going to be using. This one's too big. I'm going to cut a piece down here. So when I do Copic coloring, I always use hammer mail paper. I find that it is the nicest and smoothest stuff to use when I'm coloring with Copics. So it is an 8.5 by 11 sheet. You just cut it in half and it fits great in your MISTI here. We are only going to do the one today. Again, you can add whatever. If you want to take this and you want to add, I don't know, a Yeti or a dragon or whatever, do whatever you would like to this. But I'm just today just going to do the unicorn. So I have my hammer mill paper here. I'm going to take this, open it up. I'm going to grab my Lawn Fawn. So I'm using the jet black because I'm coloring with Copic. So you need to have our alcohol marker friendly ink. Now this set does not have dies. So you are going to have to fussy cut these, but they are so simple. So let's get this out of the way. I'm going to use my chamois and clean it off. Put this little guy out of the way here. And then we'll pull him out. Now I would recommend, oh, put that back in there. I would recommend coloring before you decide to cut this guy out here. So the reason I went with these is because I was doing a bit of a darker like background. I wanted some very vibrant colors when I was doing these. So if you want to like just match, you can do whatever you want. I just did his, the little unicorn just part yellow up there. And then you just go ahead and pick and choose colors. Again, I know I've told you guys this many times in my regular lives as well too. When you're using darker colors, I would recommend taking both lids off. If they're older markers, it's probably not as bad, but you need them to breathe because nothing's worse than you open it up. Actually, I should finish with this color. And opening this up and then you're in the middle of coloring something and all of a sudden the ink just blobs out of the bottom where you're coloring. It's awful. It's happened to me before. You really do not want that to happen. So we're going to grab some red. So that's why I always take both ends off. Okay. Then we're going to grab some orange. We'll do some orange in here, orange in here. And then we'll grab some purple. Finish off. And again, you don't have to go multicolored with the hair if you don't want to, but I just think it's fun because then it matches the rainbow look. So let's get these Copics out of the way. And then you can see just what I did with this cute little unicorn. And then I just wanted to add a little bit to the snout so that it's not completely white. So I just kind of just did a little bit of shading with some N1 just around there. Grab your N2, and these are lighter colors, so it's not as necessary unless they're brand new to take both ends off. So I grab my N0, and now I just give them a little bit of shading. So your next step is, since there's no dies with it, you're just going to cut them out. So I just like to start cutting it out like this way. Now is where you have a choice here because you can go and cut around exactly like I did, or you can do like they normally do and have that little bit of the white edge. But I'm just going to cut right around the edge here. So now you're just going to take this, do a little bit of fussy cutting. But as I said, this goes pretty fast because there's not a lot of weird edges or anything that you have to go around. So now you're just going to finish cutting them around here. Hopefully I'm still in frame. I didn't actually check that, but now when you get to the bottom, you don't want to go right across because that's where he's going to be. So cut it just a little bit lower. Okay, so just put this little guy off to the side. Now we're just going to grab your black paper and you're going to grab your Misty again. Okay, now you're going to grab your black paper, you're going to grab your Misty, and you're going to grab your tools. All right, let's just put this over to the side here. So now you're going to need a Versamark or whatever embossing ones that you have. You can just grab just a random sheet of paper here. So I'm just going to throw the black paper in. Okay, so now you want to use your anti-static tool because if you don't use this, you just kind of pat it over top. Give it a little blow, it's all good. If you don't use that, your embossing powder really likes to stick to paper. So you're not gonna get a very nice stamp. So now I'm gonna do the same thing that I did in here because you can use any of these sentiments, but you're gonna grab this, close your Misty door. Okay, grab your Versamark or whatever embossing ink that you're using. Put this over to the side, close it, and just move this off to the side again. So you don't have to use the white embossing powder if you don't want to. I just thought it looked nice just to give, because there's a little bit of the white background. Now you tap it all off. I like to give it a little blow. And if you see a little bit of extra pieces, you can just take your fingers. I can see there's a little bit that extra that's stuck there. Okay, now make sure you put this aside. Don't drop all your stuff there. Now you're gonna take your heat gun, and this is where the magic comes. So I'm gonna show it up, put it up a little bit higher, right? So now it's all the heat tool. So once the heat tool starts going, you're gonna be able to see it, that it basically just melts onto the paper, and you know that it's working because it becomes a very vibrant white. And that's all you gotta do for that. So then you're just gonna grab whatever paper trimmer, or I mean, if you have some sort of, you know, die that you want to use here or whatever too, that's fine. So the reason I just did that because I wanted to put, I didn't have one that had the little tags in here that was the right size. So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna, hopefully you can see this. I'm gonna try to hold it up a little bit more. So now you're just gonna go line it up, put this down there. You can kind of get an idea, because it's see-through on these, you can get an idea of where you need to make sure that you're straight. Okay? So now you have a little bit of edge here. So now all you got to do is take your scissors, cut off the edges. Cut off the edges. Don't cut them too close or you're never going to be able to get your little banner in here. And I just like just to take my scissors, go to the center, and then pull out the center. So now you've got your little banner edge here. Okay, now you're ready to put everything else together. So you're going to grab your foam dots if you want to make it stand up a little bit. Okay. So what I like to do is I just grab the little ones because they're pretty small to use the big ones. So I use my little foam dots. You can use your tweezers, but my fingernails work just fine. And then choose wherever you want to put your sentiment. So I'm just going to put mine a little bit more than center. Okay, now you're going to put a little bit on the two little spots if you want him up there as well too. Take these off. Then what I like to do with the bottom piece here is just grab your glue. So I use the Lawn Fawn glue here. Just put a little bit of just a stripe, like just on the bottom, just so that when you put it underneath your sentiment, it actually gonna stick there. Right, so now you're just gonna put this guy down wherever you want to put him. Push him down. And then you're just going to put your sentiment into your unicorn, and at least you know he's going to stay. So now you can leave it there. You can add a little bit of bling if you want. Like you can just grab, however, if you want to add bling to it. I'm not going to put them all down, but you get an idea. Just put your little glue down, put your bling down. I'm not going to put them all on there because you kind of get the idea. But then you already have your cute little finish with your unicorn card. So how cute is this? So hopefully you guys learned a little something, and I will put this down here again. So hopefully you guys can read it okay, just to kind of give you everything that that you guys needed to finish off this card. But here is your little unicorn rainbow card. So hope you guys had a great time learning, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.